Today we are going to discuss these literary terms, specifically elegy, epic, epigram, epiphany, epithet, and euphemism. Uh, you must have heard these terms during the course of your study. So, what do they mean and what for they are used? So, elegy, first word is elegy. Elegy, it has a Greek origin, as I told you in the previous class also. A lot of words have come into English language from Greek, Latin, and other sources as well. Now, Greek never came to England. They never ruled. They never had a direct contact with the British people. But the Greek learning that came through a literary kind of moment called Renaissance. So you know that you have already gone through those courses that how Renaissance brought that Greek classical learning into English. So that is why you find a lot of words which have a Greek origin. Okay, so this word also comes from Greek, allegia. Allegia, uh, basically, it is about uh, a state of uh, you know grief. So a poem which expresses that mourning or reflection on the death or demise of someone to memorize that or to remember that fellow or certain thing. It may be a person or maybe some other thing. So that kind of poem is known as elegy. Okay, so it is a poem of expressing grief, mourning, mourning. Okay, this mourning. You mourn someone, that means you express your grief, your sadness at the demise or death or departure of someone. So that is called as elegy. And the most famous example in this particular domain is Tennyson's In Memoriam. Tennyson's In Memoriam, Arthur Henry Hallam. Okay, that is the best example. There are many elegies which have been written uh, by Philip Sidney also, right? Then the everyday example is like you might have seen some newspaper, cut this sections where something like obituary is written or tribute. A tribute appears in some newspaper or on some social media platform whereby someone remembers the good things done by someone in the past, right? The person has passed away now. So you express your gratitude, you express your love, affection towards that fellow. So that is also a kind of elegy. But elegy in specific, in particular, it is a poem which expresses a state of grief or mourning, right? And the best example which has been given here is Lord Alfred Tennyson's In Memoriam, A.H.H. Arthur Hallam. Okay. Next is epic. Epic, again, it's a Greek word. Okay, comes from epos. Epos means a story or word, right? And story which is rooted in the oral traditions, right? We also have epics like Ramayana and Mahabharata, where almost all of you know them, right? Similarly, uh, epic is a grand story which is told in a grand style. It has a grand narrative, which has got a grand hero, like gods or heroes who actually determine the future or fortune of the entire human race. So such characters are drawn in these epics. Like you can see Ramayana, for example. So you have Lord Rama. Lord Rama is called the Lord of the God, the Lord of the earth. That means is not a normal character, normal human being. It is the person who, you know, affects the entire humanity. And it is stated in a grand scale, on a grand scale. and it is kind of grand narrative. Okay, so everything is grand. Okay, so it is a long narrative poem about the heroic deeds of the character, the main character, hero who is larger than life, who is a king, or who is a king who can affect the entire humanity, the entire human race, or it is a larger than life character like a god or a great warrior. Okay, and it is a long narrative poem. You know about these Ramayana and Mahabharata. They run into thousands of verses, thousands of uh, those stanzas. Okay, so happens on a grand scale is a grand scale. It is about a grand character. The treatment is also grand. That means the language is not day to day common language, but the language is also embellished in the best of the words. Okay, so you understand what is an epic? It is a long narrative poem about some grand uh, hero on a grand scale, in a grand manner. So that is what epic is. If you talk about English, then Milton's Paradise Lost, Paradise Regained, they are the examples you can quote. Okay. Next is in everyday life also you may have examples like there is a startup which dramatically rises to fame. So this is how you can create an epic. Okay. Next is epigram. Epigram, again a Greek word which comes from epigram, which means inscription. Okay, so it means a short, witty, and sharp saying or poem. Short and witty. Matlab, it is concise, very short statement. Witty. That means there is a lot of wit. Wit means use of logic and brain. Okay, and sharp. It may be a saying or even a poem, right? A short, witty, and sharp saying or poem. Like if you put an example from Oscar Wilde. So, what is the example? I can resist everything except temptation. Okay. I can resist everything except temptation. And everyday example, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Okay. So this is something which gives you a kind of brain twisters. Right. Now you can see in this Oscar Wilde example, I can resist everything except temptation. That means he cannot resist everything if he cannot, resist temptation. But it gives you a kind of brain uh, twisters. Like you start thinking. For example, in day-to-day life, you say, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. अगर टूटा नहीं है तो इसको क्यों जोड़, right? So these are epigrammatic expressions which are a part of short, witty, and sharp dialogue or saying, or a poem. The next is epiphany. Epiphany, epiphany. Again, epi means again it is a Greek origin word which means manifestation. Manifestation. Actually, this word was popularized by James Joyce. James Joyce, he is a novelist, a modern novelist who talks about the stream of consciousness technique. And there, his characters, they, suddenly they realize something, right? That is a manifestation of some quality, sudden realization. What is the meaning of epiphany? A sudden realization or insight. मतलब एक इंसान जो है एक तरीके से जी रहा है और अचानक से उसको एक दिन कुछ एक आभास होता है. That is a moment of enlightenment. Okay. उसको लगता है कि नहीं अच्छा है, वो आज तक ऐसे ही अंधेरे में जीता रहा, आज उसके जीवन में सवेरा हो गया, समथिंग लाइक दैट, सडन रियलाइजेशन और insight. Okay, that is the moment of epiphany. Epiphany. Okay. For example, a character is, hateful towards. Suppose there is a character who is doesn't like his sister or brother, and throughout his life he has harbored hatred and jealousy in his or her heart, and then finally one day something happens, or there is a sudden something, maybe actual incident in the life, or it may be something, some sudden discovery, or some sudden kind of thought which comes and brings a kind of enlightenment, and all of a sudden the fellow starts loving his brother or sister. So that is the moment of epiphany. मतलब पूरी जिंदगी वो करता रहा अपने भाई से जेलसी और हेट्रेड, बट एक कोई मोमेंट उसकी लाइफ में, वो मोमेंट जो है वो रियल भी हो सकती है, इट मे बी रियल ऑल्सो, इट मे बी सम इंसिडेंट, इट मे बी सम मेमोरी, it may be some third person what do you call that, interference, maybe anything, but which results in sudden realization. अचानक से उसको रियलाइज होता है कि नहीं, ये सही था या गलत था. That is a sudden realization or insight. Right? That is the moment of epiphany. Okay, like James Joyce Araby, where boy realizes his vanity. क्योंकि we people are, we people are self governed people. We are governed by our thoughts always. Some because we think whatever we think, we live the same way. Like some person may think that he is the best man in the world, he has never hurt anyone, and he is very approachable, and he is very helping, he is gentle, kind, and there is no, no limitation in his or her character. But sometimes, we cross that boundary, and sometimes our self confidence becomes a kind of arrogance, and that may not be visible to us, बिकॉज हमें लगता है कि हम तो सबसे अच्छे हैं, हमने किसी का बुरा नहीं किया, हमने किसी को उल्टा सीधा नहीं कहा, हम सबकी सुनते हैं, सबके साथ चलते हैं. तो समटाइम्स यू लिव इन योर ओन वर्ल्ड, राइट, बट समथिंग हैपन्स sometimes which changes your thoughts, which changes your viewpoint, and that is a moment of epiphany, a moment where you suddenly realize something, or a moment of sudden awakening in one's life. Okay, that is called epiphany. And everyday example is like discovering you use the wrong charger all week. हाँ, ये सिंपल सा एग्जांपल है, जैसे मान लो आपके घर में 4 चार्जर लगे हुए, 5-6 चार्जर्स हैं मोबाइल के चार्ज, और आप जो थे वो रोज ही कोई किसी और का ही चार्जर लगा के अपना फोन चार्ज कर रहे थे. ओके, और आप उसको अपना ही मान रहे थे, है कि नहीं. कोई दूसरे ने बोला मेरा है, तब भी आप बोल रहे नहीं है तुम्हारा नहीं, मेरा है. बट सडनली यू रियलाइज समथिंग, सम बाय सम मीन्स, आपको किसी ना किसी तरीके से समझ में आता है कि नहीं है, ये तो मेरा नहीं था यार, मैं तो ये गलत चीज कर रहा था या गलत चार्जर यूज कर रहा था. दिस इज डे टू डे लाइफ. जो लिटरेचर में है वो अ लिटिल डीपर, वो इतना सरफेस लेवल पे नहीं होता. दैट इज अ काइंड ऑफ लाइफ चेंजिंग रियलाइजेशन. ठीक है, चार्जर बदल गया तो पता चल गया, तो एक नॉर्मल सा रूटीन अफेयर है, उससे ज्यादा फर्क नहीं पड़ रहा. बट जो लिटरेचर में इसका यूज है, इसका मतलब होता है अ सडन रियलाइजेशन विच इज लाइफ चेंजिंग, जिसमें जो कैरेक्टर है जो है उसका मतलब फुल, मतलब एक 360 डिग्री टर्न हो जाता है उसकी लाइफ. सो दैट इज अ मोमेंट ऑफ एपिफेनी, राइट. आई होप यू गॉट दिस टर्म. नेक्स्ट इज एपिथेट. Epithet का मतलब होता है, दिस इज अगेन, these all words are from Greek language, and ये भी epithet से बना है, which means attributed. Attributed means which is attributed means which is a specific or particular quality of someone, and in order to describe that fellow you use that epithet, right. जैसे कोई बहुत भूख लगती है किसी को, या जैसे कोई एक मोटा आदमी और एक पतला है, वो उनकी दोस्ती है, तो आप मोटू और पतलू की जोड़ी बोल देते। जैसे कुछ लोग हमेशा लड़ते झगड़ते रहते हैं घर में, जैसे भाई बहन है, तो उसको टॉम एंड जेरी बोल देते हो आप। ठीक है। सो सिमिलरली these words, they stand for the attributes or qualities of a particular person, thing or idea, right? इसका मतलब होता है a descriptive phrase that highlights a quality, जो डिस्क्राइब करता है किसी इंसान को, किसी चीज को, या किसी भी any object. Okay. So that is attribute based on his its quality. For example, जो Achilles, एक स्टोरी है जिसमें this is also a Greek story in which in Greek mythology there is a warrior, Achilles, and his mother had obtained a kind of blessing from God that the son who will be born to her, if she is given this blessing, okay, you just you know uh, put this child in water, and the entire body will become, you know the, as strong as iron. So then, but what happened, uh, because this mother was holding the child upside down, uh, from one feet, from one leg. So the feet which the foot she was holding, that remained outside the water. So that becomes the weakest point in that fellow. Otherwise, no one could hurt or kill this warrior Achilles, but except his heels. तो इस तरह के ग्रीक माइथोलॉजी में एक स्टोरी है कि जो एक्लिस है इज अ ग्रेट वॉरियर, और की माँ ने आशीर्वाद मिला था कि उसके बच्चे को वो किसी एक अ, अ, कोई एक लेक या उसमें उसको डुबोएगी, जितना पानी में उसका शरीर जाएगा वो मतलब इतना स्ट्रांग हो जाएगा कि उस पर कभी किसी चीज का असर नहीं होगा, कोई मार ही नहीं सकेगा उसको। लेकिन जिस पैर से वो पकड़ती है, जिस टांग को पकड़ती है ऊपर से, तो वो हील ऊपर रह जाती है, और वही हील जो है वो that becomes the soft point or the weakest point, and that is how that warrior is killed in the war, because someone knows about his weakness, and he shoots uh, the arrow on his hill, on that weak point, and that is how he dies. Otherwise, no one could ever harm that warrior. So, swift footed Achilles. That means Achilles, he was very brave, and no one could harm him. But उसके जो पैर is the weakest point was it's his heels. And similarly, rosy fingered dawn. Rosy fingered dawn matlab whenever there is a dawn, when the sun starts setting, so you see a kind of reddish, light. That is the sunset is always appears like rosy, like a rose. Okay, so that is why it is. It's the epithet which is used is rosy fingered dawn. Okay, dawn means morning. Morning sun is also a little rosy, and in the evening also dawn and dusk. Okay, then everyday example, जैसे our prime minister, earlier prime minister, that Srimati Indira Gandhi, when she was known as the Iron Lady. So that is the epithet which is used to describe the courage or bravery of that woman, bravery or courage of that lady. So that is why this epithet, Iron Lady. Now, similarly, swift-footed Achilles. It was his quality of uh, how it was his weakness, a quality in that Achilles. Similarly, honest Abby. So similarly, these are just a Satyavadi Harishchandra bolte हैं. So that was a epithet which was used for Raja Harishchandra because of his great quality of always speaking the truth. Okay, so I hope you got an idea what epithet is. The last term which we are discussing today is euphemism. Euphemism, it again comes from Greek origins. That means eu means good, phemism, that means good speech. Good speech. That means you're using words which are not harsh. Okay, and it entered English in 17th century. Euphues, the anatomy of wit. You might have uh, gone through that particular prose piece written by John Lilly in the Elizabethan age. Euphues, the anatomy of wit. Euphues, Annie's England. These are the works which are written by John Lilly. Okay, so euphemism means using very kind or kind of decorative words, even to say the worst. Suppose you want to tell someone that you are not looking beautiful. So if you simply say you are ugly, so that person may get hurt. So what you say is, hey, yeah, today you're not as good as you used to be. You are not as beautiful as you were yesterday, right? You don't say simply that you are looking very ugly today. So that will create a rift or kind of hurt burn in that person whom you are speaking to. Voice lagging.